Hello, welcome back. As part of the Databricks Certified Associate Developer playlist, we are bringing up the next video, that is topic 22, that is data frame union, union by, and union all. So union is an operation which actually you might be well aware of it. So, and how do we perform this in the data frame? Spark data frame is what we will be exploring in this video. And before proceeding, if you're new to this channel, we will recommend you to please subscribe and also press bell button for instant notifications. So let's get started. So if you're not following the playlist, we would recommend you to please pause here and read through these instructions so to get the maximum out of this course. If you're already aware, you can feel free to skip this. So in this video, we'll be discussing what is a union operation and the different ways of performing union operation in the Spark data frame. Now quickly, let's jump to the practicals of it. To understand the union operation, so we will consider one of the data frame that we are already using. So in this setup, so the entire Databricks setup with the free community edition, if you are new to this playlist, so we would recommend you to see the previous videos to how to set up this practice environment. So now coming back to the data frame, so we will be using the web sale data frame here, and when I do a print schema, there are a lot of columns. So to perform the union operation, to demonstrate the union operation, we will use a couple of columns from this. So we will use val df1, right? And here we will use this web data frame, web sales data frame, and we will select a couple of columns. That is, we can consider first column here. So basically we need to select the columns, right? So select first column, and I would use second column and third column as well. Sold time, second column. I think three columns are enough to demonstrate this union operation. So here we are selecting three columns, right? And this we are calling as a df1. So that means out of this many columns, I'm selecting only three columns, three attributes, and writing into one more data frame, that is df1. So similarly, I'll do the same operation here. And what I can call it as df2, right? Here, so I have two data frames after this execution, right? So two data frame I have, and same column number of columns and same column names we have, right? So easily we can perform the union operation. So union operation is nothing but, so it is basically unioning of two data frames. That means so if the first data frame is having 10 records and the second data frame is having 20 records, so the result of union will have 30 records. Simple as that. So but there are like certain prerequisites. So the column names should be, the number of columns should be same here. And as you can see, it has done the union operation, right? So once the union operation is complete, you can say show. So it is showing the results, right? So here you can see most of the records are the first this might be duplicate, but if you see these also duplicate, but here date sk is different, right? So now to kind of differentiate, so which data is coming from which column, right? We can add one more extra column here, that is with column. So with column can be used for adding a new column basically, right? So here I'll use, so it should be dot select and dot with column. So if I use dot with column, and I need to identify from which column it is coming, right? Or from which data frame it is coming, right? So I can give data frame, and then so this will be your column name, right? Data frame will become your column name, and then comma, I need to use lit operation to show from where it is coming. Let's execute this. So I think the lit operation is so the lit is not this particular function is not imported. Yeah, once this function is executed, so then imported, right? So this lit function starts working, and as you can see, I'm using two lit function here for each of this different operations like that we are performing, select operation that we are performing, and here I'm specifying dot lit, I mean a comma lit, where it is df1, so that will be my identifier to identify from which data frame the value is coming from. So this is df1 and this is df2. Now I'm executing that df1 and similar df1. So basically we're adding a new column, which is identifier column. So now if I perform the same operation, right, so it should add a new column. So before adding to that, yes, it should be having a new column. So as you can see here, the data frame shows df1, right? So that means these values are coming from the data frame 1. Okay. So now we should identify from where exactly this is coming, right? I mean that we identified already. So now let us kind of try to understand by putting a filter like where operation where this value equals to this number I can give, right? So close this. So how many there are? Still there are a lot of values, right? So I'll use the another column here. This is this column. So now this will be more explainable. As you can see, this particular record, the first record is coming from data frame 1 and second record is coming from data frame 2. And we have performed a merge operation. So now we will start doing some kind of changes here to understand this union operation a little more better. So how do we understand this, right? Like, so let us try to reverse the column here. So this particular column, we'll try to reverse it. Right? So just I'm reversing the columns. But in the data frame 2, we have all the columns of data frame 1, right? But only that I'm performing the reverse operation here. So let us try to execute the union operation again and see what happens. Basically here now what we'll try to do is we'll try to swap the columns, right? The first column in the second data frame, we are just making sold time as first column and sold date sk as a second column. And then the third column we'll keep as it is and try to execute and perform the union operation now. Right. So as a result, as you can see here, the date sk column is actually having a wrong value in the second data frame. So because we have swapped the columns, it is considering basically it is taking first date sk column from first data frame and first column from the second data frame, irrespective of what column it is. So it just takes the same I mean it just take the column. So it doesn't worry about the column name here, right? So it's just taking the time sk and putting into the first column here. So that's what it does actually, right? And here also it is taking the wrong value. So instead of sold sk in place of sold sk, it is taking the sold date sk in this in case of second data frame. So you need to be very cautious when we are doing this union operation, right? Because we need to it doesn't it just consider the order of the columns. It doesn't consider the name column names. So that's quite important here. And next, if you still want to consider the column names, what we can do, right? So we can try to, there's other operation. So here simply what we can do is so there is a union what we are doing, right? So instead of union we can just do a union by name, right? So now let's try to see this whether still we will have this issue or not. Yeah, now if you can see that issue that we were seeing, right? So that issue is resolved because now it is considering the names. Even though the order is different, in the first we are selecting date SK, here is we are selecting time SK. So it is still we are specifying here. Please consider the name, not the order of the columns. So that is why it is considering the names itself. So properly when it is so this sold date will be unioned with the sold date only, so not with the time. So it is not considering the order first to first column, it is not considering, it is considering the name to name, column name to name here in this case, right? So that is why we see this particular result is coming correct now. Now that we have seen union and union by name operations, so let's think of a real-time scenario, right? So you want to perform the union and but you don't want to have the duplicates, right? So here it is clear duplicate, right? In this case, you are having a duplicates except this data frame. This is a helper column. So let's remove this helper column. If we remove this helper column, it will be exactly the duplicate values, right? So let's execute this, remove this and execute this. Sync. So now if we execute it by removing the helper column, it will look like a clear duplication. Right. So in the real time scenario, when you're working in any projects, right? So this kind of data is a clear duplicate data and you want to avoid such data, right? Whenever you perform a union, so union should be on the column, the result of the union should not be a duplicate because duplicate data doesn't serve any purpose, right? So you want to always remove this duplicate kind of a data when you perform a union. So if there are such cases, what you can perform is you can just say distinct, right? And now let us try to execute this. So since we are giving a distinct here, that means we are asking um, Spark here to remove the duplications after performing union by. So if you have any duplicates, just remove it and get the distinct values. So it is performing the same operation here. So this will be useful in the real-time scenario when you're working in any projects. So now let's quickly go to the Spark documentation for union by operation, right? So for union operation, and let us see what Spark document says. So as you can see here, like the union operation is one of the library. Basically, I mean it's one of the function in the Spark library, and basically, so it has also explained why we want to use distinct here, right? Can go through this documentation to get the more understanding of union operation, and you have a union all also. So let us see what does union all does. What is the difference? So union all is an alias for union. The difference here is use a distinct method to perform duplication. So the union all returns a data frame containing the union of rows from this another operation. Okay, but here in this case, if you are performing union all, let us try to perform a union all and see right what happens. So in this case, let's not swap these columns. We'll keep the columns as it is. Data frame 1, data frame 2. I will remove distinct here. Also, just to understand the union all raw behavior. So as you can see, union all is basically getting all the rows, whether it is duplicate or not, it gets all the rows. So that means it is actually there. What according to the documentation, what says it says is this method combines all the rows from both the data frame object with no automation deduplication of elements using distinct method to perform deduplication of the row. So it means union all and union are exactly same when you're considering this according to the Spark documentation, and that's what it is. So don't worry about union all much. So the from the exam point of view, union operation and union by name. So these two operations are important. So just concentrate on these two functions, union operations, and also just experiment with the different options, right? Like here by giving the different number of columns, right? Here you are giving, here you can give one more column and try what happens. So the first data frame is having four columns and second is having three columns. So what happens in this scenario? So these are the scenarios you need to try yourself and understand how the union operation works. But in summary, union and union by name, these are the two functions, and the best option to use is union by name because it always uses the column name rather than using the column order in the data frame that we have. So hope this was useful. Thanks for watching.